The royal halls of the Lumaran court often echoed with the footsteps of hopeful suitors who sought the admiration of Princess Leora, yet with equal regularity. Those same footsteps departed in defeat. Leora was known throughout her star systems as the most brilliant of the Lumaran bloodline and the most selective. Her people adored her for her discipline and grace. But suitors feared her unwavering standards. She believed that any who hoped to stand beside her must bring something more than titles or wealth. They needed bravery, understanding, and a willingness to see the universe beyond their own borders. From the towering citadel windows, she often watched diplomatic fleets glide into orbit, each bearing gifts and speeches rehearsed too many times. Each suitor arrived with fleets larger than the last, hoping to impress her with grandeur, but she felt no spark in their offerings. What she longed for was something else, something unnamed that she could sense only as a distant possibility. Her advisors urged her to choose a consort, reminding her that alliances were vital for the stability of her realm. But Leora remained steadfast. She believed that her life path was not one to be dictated by fear of political unrest. Still, she wondered if she would ever find someone whose presence ignited the warmth she imagined. Then, one day, an unannounced vessel appeared at the edges of Lumaran space. It was small by royal standards. Only a single human ship traveling without any escorts. The Lumaran defense grid detected it immediately. The vessel broadcast a harmless beacon and requested permission to dock for repairs. Leora watched the incoming request from her council chamber with curiosity. Humans were still relatively new to the interstellar community, known for their daring expeditions and bizarre resilience. They were a species that fascinated her. Council debated whether to allow the ship entry. Some believed it harmless. Others saw it as a potential threat. Leora listened quietly as voices clashed. She noticed the fear in their recommendations and felt something within her stir, while others saw danger. She sensed opportunity. At last she raised her voice and said that the ship would be allowed to land under escort. Her council exchanged uneasy glances but agreed to follow her. Command the small human vessel descended upon the silver platforms of the Lumaran capital. Its pilot stepped out. A single human named Rian. His suit was patched in several places, his boots worn. Yet his posture was straight, and his steps confident. Leora observed him from above as he was guided toward the palace entrance. Though he arrived alone, and without any magnificent entourage, he carried a presence that seemed to fill the space around him. He did not tremble or bow too deeply, nor did he boast. He simply followed the escort with steady calm. When he was brought before the princess, he knelt respectfully, but not fearfully. She regarded him with quiet interest. His eyes were clear, his demeanor open, and he spoke without arrogance. He explained that his ship had been struck by debris from an asteroid cluster, and that he sought temporary shelter to make repairs. There was no attempt at flattery, no hidden intention other than survival and respect for their territory. Council questioned him for hours, attempting to measure his motives, yet throughout the interrogation he answered with patience and clarity. Leora found herself watching him more closely than she had intended. Rian carried no noble titles. He had no legendary lineage, but he possessed an uncommon steadiness that intrigued her. She granted him temporary residency in the palace's guest wing. Rian thanked her with a sincerity that made her chest tighten for reasons she could not fully explain. In the days that followed, he worked on his ship, while also learning about the Lumaran culture. He asked thoughtful questions and offered stories of his travels. The engineers who assisted him remarked on his ingenuity, surprised at how he managed to keep his vessel operational through such harsh conditions. His resilience impressed many, but it impressed Leora most of all. She observed him from a distance at first, respecting his need for space Yet she found excuses to visit the docking platform, where his ship rested. Each meeting between them began with formal greetings. But gradually the tone softened. Rian treated her with kindness, but not worship. He listened to her ideas, as though she were someone he wished to understand, not someone he hoped to conquer. She found herself speaking more openly than she ever had with any. Suitor one evening, as the setting light shimmered across the crystalline towers. Liara walked with Rian through the palace garden. He asked her why she had turned away so many visitors. Her steps slowed as she considered. Her answer, she explained that none of them saw her for who she truly was. They saw a title, a pathway to influence, or a symbol of prestige. But she longed for someone who valued her thoughts, her curiosity, and her spirit. Rian nodded, as though he understood perfectly. He said that on his travels, he too had encountered people who wanted things from him, but very few who wanted to know him. The quiet understanding between them deepened. Liara felt something warm and unfamiliar bloom inside her. It frightened her slightly. Yet she could not deny the pull she felt toward him. There, growing connections soon stirred. Whispers among the palace staff. Some were concerned that the princess was becoming too attached. Others believed that the human newcomer possessed something rare. Her advisors brought their concerns to her one morning as she prepared for a council meeting. They reminded her that she could not form a bond with someone who held no political influence, but she dismissed their fears. With a calm wave of her hand, they had no right to decide her heart's path. During the following weeks, Rian proved himself not only resourceful, but honorable. When a supply tower malfunctioned and threatened to collapse upon a group of workers, Rian leaped into action. He sprinted toward the structure, bracing its unstable frame just long enough for the workers to escape. He risked his own safety without hesitation. Liara witnessed the event from a balcony and felt her breath catch. Her people praised his courage. Yet he accepted no reward that night. Liara visited him in the guest wing. She thanked him personally and expressed her deep concern for his well-being. He smiled and said that he acted because it was the right thing to do. Nothing more. She found herself staring at his face longer than she intended. In that silence, something meaningful passed between them. She turned away before her composure could slip. Days turned into weeks as Rian continued repairing his ship. Each day he spent on the Lumaran world made him more aware of the bond he shared with the princess. He admired her strength, her intelligence, and the compassion she extended to her people. Yet he also felt unworthy of her regard. He was a lone traveler with no family name behind him. He told himself that once his ship was ready, he would leave quietly. One evening he stood alone by his ship, staring at the stars above. The repairs were nearly complete. Soon he would be able to depart. He felt a sudden ache in his chest at the thought of leaving the place that had begun to feel like home. More than that, he dreaded leaving Liara's. He contemplated his departure. He heard soft footsteps behind him. Liara approached slowly, her expression calm yet thoughtful. She asked him if his ship was nearly ready. He nodded, unable to find the words he needed. He sensed that she did not want him to leave. Yet he did not dare presume. She stepped closer and asked if he intended to return to his journeys once repairs were finished. Rian hesitated. He explained that wandering was all he knew, but that he had found something on her world that made him question the path he had chosen. Liara looked into his eyes, reading the quiet longing within them. Her heart raced with equal parts fear and hope. She told him that she admired his courage and his kindness. She confessed that he was unlike anyone she had ever met. Rian felt his heartbeat quicken at her words. He admitted that she had changed him, that he could no longer imagine traveling the stars without thinking of her. Liara felt her resolve melt. She asked him what he wished for now. That fate had brought them together. Rian answered that he wished only for the chance to remain by her side if she would allow it. Her breath trembled as she listened. For the first time she felt the answer rise within her effortlessly. She told him she desired the same, but the path ahead would not be easy. The council would oppose their union, and the people might doubt a human consort. Rian replied that he feared none of it. He promised that so long as she wanted him there, he would face every challenge that came with their bond. The following morning, the council confronted Leora. They warned her that choosing an outsider would disrupt centuries of tradition, but she met their objections. With quiet strength, she told them that her decision was final. She believed that unity between species would lead to a brighter era for their people. Her words carried such conviction that even the most skeptical advisors fell silent. Later that day, she stood on the grand platform overlooking the city. Rian stood at her side as she addressed her people. She introduced him not as a suitor, but as someone who had earned her trust and admiration. She spoke of his bravery, his honesty, and the example he had set. She declared that she would walk her path with him. The crowd responded with murmurs at first, but gradually the murmurs shifted into a wave of acceptance. In the days that followed, preparations began for the ceremony that would unite them. Rian felt overwhelmed by the honor, yet he remained humble. Leora guided him through the customs of her people, teaching him the traditions with warmth and excitement. The palace atmosphere transformed in